Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Lambert, and I'm one of the student recruitment officers here at the Thank you for attending our presentation today called It's Not Too Late, Apply to University One for Fall 2021. As a friendly reminder, this presentation is going to be more suitable for current grade 12 students that are looking to begin their university studies in this upcoming September term. Before we get started with this presentation today, I do want to just go over a brief agenda of what you can anticipate learning in this presentation today. We'll be going over a small overview about the University of Manitoba. Hopefully you've attended some of our earlier sessions where we went into a little bit more detail about what the university does have to offer. But I will be going over our academic programs, showing you that full program list that we do have. And then I will be focusing more specifically on one of our most popular first-year programs called University One. Then getting closer to the end of the presentation, I'll be introducing a couple of resources that we encourage all prospective and incoming students to actually review. I'll be going over the online information sessions along with our first-year planning guide. And then lastly, if there are any questions, you're more than welcome to post any questions. But please note for the recording for today's presentation, it will be finished just before the Q&A. So before we get started, I do want to acknowledge that the University of Manitoba campuses are located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Métis Nation. We respect the treaties that were made on these territories. We acknowledge the harms and mistakes of the past, and we dedicate ourselves to move forward in partnership with Indigenous communities in a spirit of reconciliation and collaboration. So why university? This is always one of my kind of favorite areas to really talk about, because I know, especially for incoming students and students who are about to graduate high school, there can sometimes be a lot of stress, a lot of unknown, trying to figure out what might be your best step. So to kind of introduce the university world, we want to talk about three specific areas that we find most beneficial for university graduates. So these would include transferable skills, increased job prospects, and also acknowledging the fact that even at the university, especially at the University of Manitoba, there are certainly hands-on practical and work experience available for you to participate in to ensure your success going into the workforce. So looking back first at the transferable skills, without a doubt, this is probably my favorite thing to really acknowledge and kind of think about, even leaving high school to go to university, and especially graduating from university, because transferable skills really are kind of the bread and butter of what employers are really looking for. When we talk about transferable skills, we can talk about a range of different areas too, a lot of which some of you have probably already been exercising in your high school years. So this might include organizational skills, time management, presenting, critical thinking. The list goes quite on, but really kind of making sure to keep those close to you while you're in university, and kind of just reviewing them and keeping them up to speed is something that's really important post-graduation. On that topic too, there tends to be an increase of job prospects and also earning potential for university graduates. So that's a really kind of important thing to think about too, not just to think about your future, but also for myself, I oftentimes will share my own experience of saying, you know, when I graduated from university, there was a range of different environments and career areas that I was able to apply into. Unlike some specific programs that might be more direct, that only might give you one specific job. So that is one nice thing, that a university degree certainly gives you that flexibility to move around based off your passion and your interests. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, there are certainly those hands-on practical and work experience opportunities that students can absolutely take part in. At the University of Manitoba, there is a range of different areas, but we oftentimes like to talk about our co-op, which is our paid work experience opportunities, internships, research, and even volunteering I put in there too, because all of these really come together to kind of build your student profile and also not only help your professional, but also your professional mindset and goals going forward. If you're interested in learning about which programs have some of these experiences related to it as well, you're more than welcome to take a look on our website for further details. And then this photo here is just an aerial view of our Fort Garry campus. So again, if you have attended one of the earlier sessions, we went into a little bit more detail about the University of Manitoba, and I'll just talk about a few pointers today. But at the we actually have two campuses. This Fort Garry campus is located about 15 minutes south of the city center of Winnipeg. And then we have a smaller campus also located in downtown Winnipeg. except those programs are going to be more based around our health science program. So most students will actually find themselves studying on the Fort Garry campus, typically for the majority of their whole degree as well. So I'm a big fan of this campus. Of course, my background is growing up in Winnipeg, studying at the University of Manitoba, and I've always found this space essentially like a city within a city. So I'm a little biased, but it is one of my favorite places. To talk about a few more kind of facts and figures about the University of Manitoba as well. The UM is the largest post-secondary research intensive institution in the province of Manitoba. So what that means is that, yes, we certainly have a lot of research opportunities for students, but that also means we have the largest number of students studying with us, and also the largest number of academic programs also available. So this past fall, we reached a wonderful milestone of actually going over 30,000 students that are currently studying with us at the undergraduate and the graduate level. And then with regards to our undergraduate and academic programs, we have just over 130 right now available for students to choose from. On top of that, as kind of mentioned earlier about our research intensiveness, the UM is part of the U15, which just outlines that we are one of Canada's top research intensive universities. What I always kind of like to say with that too, because I know sometimes that can seem very overwhelming for students, but what that means for you is that there are more opportunities to be involved both locally, nationally, and even internationally when it comes to research. And I know a lot of students sometimes often think that research can only be done more in our science programs, but actually almost every single program at the university has research. So I will always recommend students to even start as early as their first year, starting those relationship buildings with your professor and getting a little bit more familiar about what kind of research is available that you might be interested in being involved with. And then lastly, with the University of Manitoba too, we are the only institution in the province that has a number of these professional programs available. So some of these would include medicine, pharmacy, architecture, law. The list actually is quite extensive too. So if you are interested in one of those more professional areas and you're looking to stay in the province of Manitoba, you'll end up finding yourself actually continuing your studies with us at the UM. Next up, we'll take a little bit of a glance at the academic programs that we do have. So at the University of Manitoba, as I mentioned earlier, there's over 130 programs that we do have, but on this page, you won't see all of them listed just because I wish I could chat to you all day, but I know we all have other things to do. So the list that you see in front of me here, though, is our faculties and our colleges that we have. Now, one thing that's important to note is that a faculty is generally an area of study that is home to a number of additional departments. So for example, our Faculty of Arts actually has 26 different departments within it. So these are kind of more general areas that students could certainly look at going to study within. A couple of things to note on this page, though. The first one that you can kind of see is that some of the programs have a maple leaf listed to the right of it. And what this means is that this program, or these programs in particular, are only open to Canadian citizens and permanent residents. So that is important if you are an international student watching this presentation and you are interested in perhaps going into a health science based program. One thing I would recommend looking into is potentially for your upcoming years, looking at either studying within the interdisciplinary health program, or also our College of Nursing is also available for international students. Now, if you're going through this list, some of these terms might sound familiar. One that might seem a little bit different is University One in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, what University One is actually the program that I want to spend a little bit more time talking about today, because this is the program that is still accepting applications for the fall 2021 term. And this is really important because this is for students who are currently in grade 12 that are looking to study with us in September, who have maybe not submitted an application yet. So just to take a little bit of a closer look at University One, kind of what it all entails. Again, I'm a little biased with this program too, but University One is our most popular first year program. Generally, students are choosing University One if they are maybe applying after the March 1st deadline that passed a little while ago already, or for students who might be interested in exploring one or more programs. So at this point, this is where I usually introduce my experience, and this timeline that we're talking about is exactly what I did a number of years ago when I was finishing my high school experience. I'd gone past the March 1st deadline. I knew I wanted to study at the university, but I wasn't actually sure which program was going to be best suited for me. So I had applied for University One. I studied within the program for a year, and I actually took courses from 4 different programs to really figure out what was best suited for me, along with having some help from academic advisors to understand kind of future goals and what I was looking for. It really helped me figure out what I actually wanted to do and study at the university. So this is another reason why we have this program, is because a lot of incoming students aren't 100% sure what program they do want to study. So University One kind of gives them that option to take a little bit of a closer look to see what is all available for you, and to maybe go one more year of university, or pardon me, let me rephrase that. It's not an extra year of university, but University One gives you a year to kind of sample courses before you actually decide on your degree choice. On the diagram that you can see in the bottom here, whether you are in University One or you're in a direct entry faculty, and again, students that are in a direct entry faculty would have applied by that March 1st deadline. But the important thing is to know whether you're in one of those 2 areas, you're actually taking the exact same courses. So it's important to kind of emphasize that, because a big myth that we always have to debunk is that University One adds time or cost to your degree, but you're actually taking the exact same courses. The only difference is that University One students, once you complete 1 year studying in University One, you then have to either transit to the Faculty of Arts or the Faculty of Science going into year 2, or you can also apply into your program of your liking for year 2 as well. Now, if you're wondering about those University One admission requirements, this is going to be kind of the general requirements that we do need to see. So of course, we need to see that you've graduated high school with 5 full credits at the grade 12 level. And then we also need to see a minimum 70% average over the following courses, with no less than 60% in each. So this would include an English, a mathematics, and then 2 additional academic courses. Now, if you have studied either outside of the province or even outside of Canada, these requirements might look a little bit differently. So I would encourage you to review our admissions webpage, and just to double check the curriculum that you've studied to ensure that it matches what we're requesting for our admission requirements. And there are some additional pieces for you to also review, such as English language proficiency. And then just a couple of resources to also review here. The first one, hopefully some of you are familiar. If you're looking at this video, then I know you've been on the online information sessions page. But what is important is to also review some of these older sessions that we also have available on the website. So this would include the introduction to the understanding what we all offer, what that experienced student life actually looks like, and what you can kind of expect as being a student at the university. We go into a little bit more detail with our academic programs as well. So looking at each faculty, kind of highlighting some of those more popular programs, some that students are really keen in wanting to study, and then also just some unique facts about some of these programs too. And then lastly, there's also the application process. So you can also go on there if you're looking for a little bit more assistance on how to actually submit an application to University One. You're more than welcome to go and review that video just for a little bit more guidance. At this time too, I would also encourage you to keep an eye on this webpage, because in the upcoming weeks, we will be sharing our next step sessions. And next steps is essentially for all incoming students for the fall term. So if you know you want to study with us and you're wondering, well, what's my timeline? What can I do to get myself situated and prepped? Those sessions will be really important for you to review. And then the second resource here I do want to show you, I'm just going to actually bring up my shared screen on Google. Bear with me one quick moment here, folks. Okay. So the first year planning guide, oh, pardon me, I shared the wrong thing. Let's see here. Okay. So the first year planning guide is essentially our go-to resource for all incoming first year students. It is a very large PDF. I think it's about just under 200 pages here. And essentially what this guide is for is to help all future students kind of get a better understanding of what that transition from high school to university likes, or what the transition from high school to university looks like, going over some of those different terminology pieces, understanding some of those prerequisites that we might actually require for our specific university courses, and then even going into more detail about what first year courses you should be registering for when that time does come, how to put together a timetable, and where you can actually go for additional resources for some further guidance. So just as an example, because I know we get a lot of students asking, well, what kind of courses do I need to take for a specific program? I'm just going to show you an example here within our Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences. We have the Bachelor of Science, Human Nutritional Science program. So this page here, I know this might look a little confusing, wondering, okay, well, what do these codes mean? What are all these different terms? What's a lab? Again, in our next step sessions, we go into a lot of these further details about what the class structure looks like and what a lot of these terminology pieces are. But if you are wanting to know a little bit more about these courses, you can actually learn about all these courses individually. But the other thing to note is if you go down the next page after looking at that first year chart, you can also go ahead and review the high school prerequisites for the university level courses that are required for this particular program. So just as an example, for our human nutritional science program, we require a 50% in chemistry, mathematics, so pre-calculus or applied for Manitoba students, and then also biology if you're taking a particular bio class. So those are just a couple little tricks to look at just to ensure that you are taking the appropriate classes or that you have completed them to ensure that you can take that class with no issues. And again, you're more than welcome to take a look at this guide. It is found on our Next Steps webpage. So I would encourage you just to take a look there and learn a little bit more about it. And then just to go back to the presentation here before we wrap up. There we go. So how to get started here. So what you would be looking at next is actually to apply and start actually submitting some documentation for the application process. So if you are interested in applying, the application is available completely online. It takes about 15 to 20 minutes to actually submit that to our admissions office. Again, for us, we do recommend that students submit their application by the deadline of May 1st. Technically for university one, though, we do have a later deadline, which is August 1st. The reason we say May 1st, though, is to ensure that your documents are given the appropriate time and consideration. And then you can also get yourself prepped for some of those next steps that will begin as early as June. So that's just something to keep in mind of. When you are submitting documents, you will have access to an application portal where you'll be able to see all of our required documents, any outstanding documents that you have not submitted yet. And essentially, you'll just be able to kind of stay on track about what these documents are requesting you to do, when the deadline is, and just keeping you ready to go. And then lastly, this is when you can actually go ahead and accept your offer. So going ahead to follow the instructions to either accept or decline your offer to then begin your process and your university experience at the UM. If you do have any further questions regarding anything that we've gone over in the presentation today, we certainly encourage you to reach out and chat with us. If you are a domestic or an international student, you're more than welcome to connect with our student recruitment team at student_recruitment@umanitoba.ca. And then if you are a student who identifies as being Indigenous, you can also reach out to our Indigenous recruitment team at indigenous_recruitment@umanitoba.ca. And then lastly, if you're interested in actually signing up for our monthly newsletter for students, you can also go to umconnect.ca. And you can fill out that form there and you'll be kind of in the know with all upcoming program updates and fun things that are happening within the UM community. So again, hopefully we hear from you soon. If you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to connect with us, and we hope to see you on campus soon. Thanks so much. Take care.